The Art of Laziness, Chapter 1 Summary, Detailed Explanation. Introduction. Chapter 1 of The Art of Laziness introduces the main idea of the book. Laziness is not always bad. Society usually teaches us that being busy all the time means being productive and successful. But the author challenges this idea. The chapter explains that sometimes working too much can actually reduce creativity, happiness, and effectiveness. The chapter begins by questioning the modern culture of constant productivity. Many people believe they must always stay busy, working, studying, or doing something productive every moment. However, the author suggests that this mindset can make life stressful and prevent people from thinking clearly. 1. Society's negative view of laziness. In most cultures, laziness is considered a bad habit. Since childhood, people are taught, "Don't be lazy. Work harder." Success comes from constant effort. Because of this, many people feel guilty when they rest. The author explains that society often glorifies overwork. People admire those who work 12-16 hours a day, thinking they are more dedicated or successful. But the author asks an important question. Does working more hours actually mean better results? Often the answer is no. Many people stay busy doing unnecessary tasks that do not truly improve their lives or productivity. 2. Difference between laziness and smart efficiency. One of the most important ideas in Chapter 1 is that laziness can sometimes lead to smarter work. Instead of constantly working hard, a lazy person may try to find faster ways to complete tasks, simpler solutions, more efficient systems. This type of thinking often leads to innovation and creativity. For example, a person who dislikes repetitive work may create a shortcut or automation to finish the task quickly. So what looks like laziness may actually be intelligent problem solving. 3. Rest is important for the brain. The chapter also explains that rest and relaxation are essential for mental health. When people work continuously without breaks, their creativity decreases, stress increases, productivity becomes lower, decision-making becomes weaker. However, when the brain gets time to rest, it becomes more creative and focused. Many great ideas actually appear when people are relaxing, such as taking a walk, lying down, daydreaming, sitting quietly. This is because the brain processes information better during calm moments. 4. The myth of always being busy. Modern society often values people who are always busy. But the author explains that being busy does not always mean being productive. Example: 2 workers may spend 8 hours at work. Worker A works continuously without thinking, does many small tasks, feels tired. Worker B works only 4 hours, focuses on important tasks, finishes faster. Even though worker B works less, they may produce better results. So the chapter encourages readers to focus on results instead of effort. 5. Laziness can encourage creativity. Another idea discussed in Chapter 1 is that creativity needs mental space. When a person is always busy, there is no time for reflection. The mind cannot explore new ideas. Thinking becomes mechanical. But when someone relaxes, the mind becomes open. New ideas appear. Creative thinking improves. This is why many artists, writers, and inventors spend time daydreaming or doing nothing. Doing nothing is sometimes the best way to think. 6. The problem of hustle culture. The chapter also criticizes modern hustle culture. Hustle culture promotes ideas like sleep less, work more. If you rest, you are falling behind. Success requires constant grinding. While hard work is important, The author argues that extreme hustle can damage life balance. It can lead to burnout, stress, health problems, lack of happiness. Instead of endless hustle, the book promotes balanced productivity. 7. Lazy thinking and innovation. Many inventions in history were created by people who wanted easier ways to do things. For example, someone who does not want to walk long distances may invent a vehicle. Someone who dislikes manual calculations may create a calculator or computer. In this way, laziness can actually drive technological progress. The author suggests that laziness sometimes pushes people to create better systems that reduce effort. 8. Working less but achieving more. Chapter 1 also introduces the concept of working smarter, not harder. This means, instead of doing more work, focus on the most important tasks, the most effective methods, eliminating unnecessary effort. The author explains that 20% of work often produces 80% of results. This idea encourages readers to identify high-impact tasks, low-value activities, then reduce the low-value tasks. 9. The psychological benefit of laziness. Another point the chapter discusses is mental relaxation. Constant activity can make people feel exhausted, overwhelmed, mentally tired. Taking time to relax helps reduce stress, improve mood, restore energy. Relaxation is not a waste of time. It is necessary for long-term productivity. 10. Redefining laziness. The chapter finally encourages readers to rethink the meaning of laziness. Instead of seeing laziness as cross-mark lack of discipline, cross-mark avoiding responsibility, it can sometimes mean heavy checkmark choosing smarter methods, heavy checkmark avoiding unnecessary work, heavy checkmark protecting mental energy, heavy checkmark focusing on what truly matters. The key message is that not all laziness is bad. Sometimes it is a sign that a person is trying to simplify life. Conclusion of Chapter 1. Chapter 1 of The Art of Laziness introduces a powerful idea. Being constantly busy is not the same as being productive. The author encourages readers to question society's obsession with overwork and to understand that rest, efficiency, and simplicity can actually improve productivity and happiness. Key lessons from the chapter include: laziness is often misunderstood. Working smarter is better than working harder. Rest is essential for creativity and mental health. Being busy does not always mean being productive. Innovation often comes from the desire to reduce effort. The chapter sets the foundation for the rest of the book, which will explore how people can use strategic laziness to live a more balanced and productive life. Chapter 2 of The Art of Laziness goes deeper into the idea introduced in Chapter 1. Laziness can actually be useful if it is used intelligently. The author explains that the real problem in modern life is not laziness, but misdirected effort. Many people work very hard but still feel tired, stressed, and unfulfilled. This happens because they spend their energy on unimportant tasks instead of focusing on what truly matters. This chapter teaches readers how to use laziness as a strategy to avoid unnecessary work and focus only on meaningful activities. 1. Understanding productive laziness. The main idea of Chapter 2 is the concept of productive laziness. Productive laziness does not mean doing nothing all day. Instead, it means avoiding useless work, reducing unnecessary effort, simplifying tasks, using smarter methods. A productive lazy person always asks questions like, is this task really necessary? Can this be done faster? Is there an easier way to achieve the same result? By thinking this way, people can save time and energy. 2. Why people stay busy with unimportant work. The author explains that many people fill their day with tasks that do not truly matter. Examples include checking emails every few minutes, attending unnecessary meetings, doing repetitive tasks manually, trying to appear busy instead of being productive. People often do these things because they believe being busy equals being successful. But this is a mistake. The author explains that true productivity comes from focusing on important results, not from constant activity. 3. The fear of doing nothing. Another idea discussed in the chapter is that many people are afraid of doing nothing. When people sit quietly or relax, they often feel guilty. They think they are wasting time. But the author explains that doing nothing can actually be valuable. When the brain gets time to relax, it processes information. It develops new ideas. It solves problems subconsciously. Many great thinkers and creators intentionally spend time doing nothing to allow their minds to think freely. 4. Laziness as a tool for simplification. The chapter explains that lazy people often try to simplify complicated tasks. Instead of doing everything the hard way, they look for shortcuts, automation, better systems. For example, a lazy worker who dislikes repetitive tasks might create a simple tool or method that finishes the work faster. Over time, these improvements can save hundreds of hours. The author suggests that this kind of thinking leads to innovation and progress. 5. Energy is a limited resource. One of the most important lessons in Chapter 2 is that human energy is limited. Every day, people have a certain amount of mental energy, physical energy, emotional energy. If someone spends this energy on small, unimportant tasks, they will have nothing left for important goals. Productive laziness helps people protect their energy. Instead of doing everything, they focus on what truly matters. 6. Eliminating unnecessary work. The author suggests that the first step toward productive laziness is elimination. Before starting a task, ask, is this really necessary? What will happen if I don't do it? Often people discover that many tasks do not need to be done at all. By removing unnecessary tasks, life becomes simpler, less stressful, more productive. This idea is similar to minimalism in work. 7. The power of prioritization. Another key concept in this chapter is prioritization. Not all tasks are equally important. Some tasks produce major results, while others produce very little impact. The author explains that successful people focus on high-impact activities. Instead of trying to complete everything, they identify the most important tasks, the tasks that create the biggest results. Then they focus their energy on those tasks first. 8. The role of technology in lazy efficiency. The chapter also talks about how technology helps lazy thinkers. Many modern tools exist because people wanted to reduce effort. Examples include computers that automate calculations, washing machines that replace manual washing, smartphones that simplify communication. These inventions were created because people wanted to make life easier. The author suggests that people should use technology wisely to reduce unnecessary effort. 9. Avoiding burnout. Another problem discussed in this chapter is burnout. Burnout happens when people work too hard for too long without enough rest. Symptoms of burnout include constant fatigue, lack of motivation, stress and anxiety, reduced productivity. Productive laziness helps prevent burnout by encouraging people to take breaks, rest properly, Avoid overworking. When people maintain balance, they can stay productive for many years. 10. Learning to say no. One of the most practical lessons in Chapter 2 is learning to say no. Many people accept every request or responsibility. They say yes to extra work, social obligations, unnecessary tasks. As a result, they become overwhelmed. Productive laziness teaches people to protect their time. Saying no to unimportant things allows them to say yes to what truly matters. 11. Slow thinking and better decisions. The chapter also explains that rushing through tasks can lead to mistakes and poor decisions. When people slow down and think carefully, they make better choices. They avoid unnecessary work. They find smarter solutions. Lazy thinking often encourages reflection instead of reaction. This leads to more effective outcomes. 12. Quality over quantity. Another idea emphasized in Chapter 2 is focusing on quality rather than quantity. Many people believe success comes from doing more tasks. But the author explains that doing fewer tasks with higher quality is much more valuable. For example, writing one excellent article can be more powerful than writing 10 average ones. Working intelligently allows people to produce better results with less effort. 13. Creating a relaxed mindset. The author also explains that productive laziness encourages a calm and relaxed mindset. When people stop rushing and overworking, they begin to think more clearly, enjoy life more, feel less stress. A relaxed mind is often more creative and productive. This mindset helps people achieve long-term success without sacrificing their health. 14. Laziness and life balance. The chapter ends by discussing the importance of balance in life. Life should not be only about work. People also need time for family, friends, rest, hobbies, personal growth. Productive laziness helps people create space for these important aspects of life. Instead of constantly chasing productivity, they learn to live more intentionally. Conclusion of Chapter 2. Chapter 2 of The Art of Laziness teaches readers that laziness can become a powerful strategy when used wisely. The chapter encourages people to stop wasting energy on unimportant tasks and instead focus on meaningful work. Key lessons from this chapter include: laziness can help simplify life. Being busy does not always mean being productive. Energy is limited and should be used wisely. Eliminating unnecessary tasks increases efficiency. Rest and balance are essential for long-term success. By practicing productive laziness, people can achieve more while working less and living a more balanced and enjoyable life. Blue Book, The Art of Laziness, Chapter 3 Summary. Chapter 3 of The Art of Laziness focuses on an important idea: working less, but achieving more by using smart effort instead of constant hard work. The chapter explains that many people stay busy all day but still feel tired and unproductive because they confuse being busy with being effective. The author teaches how laziness, when used correctly, can actually make a person more productive. Below is a detailed explanation of the main ideas of Chapter 3. 1. The difference between busy and productive. The chapter begins by explaining that being busy does not always mean being productive. Many people spend their whole day doing tasks, answering messages, attending meetings, or completing small activities. At the end of the day, they feel exhausted but still feel they did not achieve anything meaningful. The author says this happens because people focus on quantity of work instead of quality of results. For example, a person may spend 8 hours working but accomplish very little. Another person may work only 3 hours but finish the most important tasks. The second person is using intelligent laziness. Instead of doing unnecessary work, they focus only on what really matters. The chapter encourages readers to ask themselves one simple question before doing any task. Backhand index pointing right. Is this task truly important, or am I just keeping myself busy? If the task does not create real value, it may not deserve your time. 2. The lazy person's secret strategy. The author introduces a strategy used by smart lazy people. A lazy person naturally tries to avoid unnecessary effort. Because of this habit, they often find easier and faster ways to complete tasks. Instead of doing things the long way, they ask questions like, can this task be simplified? Can this be automated? Is this even necessary? For example, a hardworking person might spend hours manually organizing files. A lazy thinker might create a simple system or shortcut that organizes everything automatically. In the long run, the lazy thinker saves a huge amount of time and energy. The chapter shows that laziness can lead to innovation and efficiency. 3. The power of prioritization. One of the biggest lessons of this chapter is prioritization. Many people treat every task as equally important. As a result, they waste time on small things while ignoring big goals. The author suggests dividing tasks into 3 categories. 1. High-impact tasks. These tasks create the most results. Examples: important work projects, learning new skills, building relationships, health and fitness. These tasks should get most of your attention. 2. Medium-impact tasks. These tasks are useful but not critical. Examples: replying to emails, routine office work, organizing documents. These tasks should be done after the important tasks are completed. 3. Low-impact tasks. These tasks do not add much value. Examples: scrolling social media, unnecessary meetings, rechecking things too many times. The author recommends reducing or eliminating these tasks. A lazy person naturally avoids low-impact work, which is why they often end up focusing on what really matters. 4. The 80-20 principle. Chapter 3 also discusses a powerful productivity concept called the Pareto principle. Backhand index pointing right, the rule says that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. In other words, a small number of tasks create most of the results. The majority of tasks contribute very little. The author encourages readers to identify their 20% tasks. For example, in business, a few customers generate most of the revenue. In studying, a few key topics determine most exam results. In work, a few important tasks produce most career growth. Lazy thinkers focus on these high-impact activities instead of trying to do everything. 5. Energy management instead of time management. Most productivity advice talks about time management. However, this chapter emphasizes something more important: energy management. The author explains that everyone has limited energy each day. When energy is wasted on unimportant work, there is little left for important tasks. For example, if someone spends the whole morning answering emails and messages, they might feel too tired to work on meaningful projects later. Instead, the chapter suggests heavy check mark: do the most important work when your energy is highest. Heavy check mark: avoid draining tasks early in the day. Heavy check mark: take breaks to recharge your mind. This approach allows you to work less but achieve better results. 6. The importance of saying no. Another key lesson in this chapter is learning to say no. Many people become overwhelmed because they accept too many responsibilities. They say yes to extra work, Unnecessary meetings. Other people's requests. The author explains that every time you say yes to something unimportant, you say no to something more important. Lazy thinkers protect their time carefully. They politely refuse tasks that do not help their goals. For example, instead of saying, cross mark, okay, I'll do it, they may say, heavy check mark, I can't take this right now because I'm focusing on another priority. This habit keeps their schedule simple and effective. 7. Simplifying life. The chapter also talks about simplification. Many people complicate their work and personal life with too many tasks, commitments, and responsibilities. Lazy thinking encourages simplification. For example, instead of managing 10 different projects, focus on the 2-3 most important ones. Instead of creating complex routines, build simple habits that are easy to maintain. Simplifying life reduces stress and increases productivity. 8. Avoiding perfectionism. Perfectionism is another problem discussed in Chapter 3. Many people spend too much time trying to make everything perfect. This leads to delays, stress, wasted energy. The author suggests aiming for good enough instead of perfect. A lazy thinker prefers finishing a task quickly rather than endlessly improving small details. For example, instead of spending 5 hours perfecting a report, finish a strong version in 1 hour and move on to the next important task. This approach allows you to complete more meaningful work. 9. Delegation and smart work. Another strategy discussed in the chapter is delegation. If a task can be done by someone else, it may not require your personal effort. Lazy thinkers ask, can someone else do this task? Can a tool or software do this automatically? Delegation helps save time and focus on higher value activities. For example, a business owner should focus on strategy and growth rather than doing every small task themselves. 10. Rest is part of productivity. The chapter also highlights the importance of rest. Many people believe success requires constant hard work without breaks. However, this often leads to burnout. Lazy thinkers understand that rest improves productivity. Benefits of rest include better creativity, improved decision-making, higher energy levels, better mental health. Short breaks during work can help the brain recharge and stay focused. 11. Building a lazy productivity mindset. The author encourages readers to adopt a lazy productivity mindset. This mindset includes several principles. Heavy checkmark, focus on results, not effort. Heavy checkmark, eliminate unnecessary work. Heavy checkmark, prioritize high-impact tasks. Heavy checkmark, simplify processes. Heavy checkmark, use shortcuts and systems. By following these principles, a person can achieve more while working less. 12. Real-life example. The chapter gives examples of successful people who work smart instead of constantly working harder. Many innovators and entrepreneurs succeed because they look for simpler ways to solve problems. Instead of accepting difficult processes, they ask, backhand index pointing right, is there an easier way to do this? This question often leads to creative solutions. 13. Key lessons from Chapter 3. The main lessons of the chapter can be summarized as 1. Being busy is not the same as being productive. 2. Focus on tasks that create the biggest results. 3. Use the 80-20 rule to identify high-impact activities. 4. Protect your energy for meaningful work. 5. Learn to say no to unnecessary commitments. 6. Simplify tasks and systems whenever possible. 7. Avoid perfectionism and finish work efficiently. 8. Use delegation and automation to reduce effort. 9. Take rest and breaks to maintain productivity. Work smarter, not harder. Conclusion. Chapter 3 of The Art of Laziness teaches that productivity does not come from working all the time. Instead, it comes from working intelligently and focusing on what truly matters. The author shows that laziness, when used wisely, can actually help people become more efficient. By avoiding unnecessary work, prioritizing important tasks, and simplifying processes, a person can achieve greater results with less effort. The chapter ultimately encourages readers to rethink their approach to work and productivity. Instead of filling every moment with activity, they should focus on meaningful actions that create real progress. Blue Book, The Art of Laziness, Chapter 4 Summary. Chapter 4 of The Art of Laziness explores an interesting concept: how rest, relaxation, and controlled laziness can actually improve creativity, decision-making, and long-term productivity. Many people believe that success requires constant effort and continuous work. However, the author argues that overworking often reduces efficiency, while strategic laziness helps the mind function better. The chapter explains how giving your brain time to rest allows ideas to develop naturally and helps you work smarter. Below is a detailed explanation of the main ideas of Chapter 4. 1. Why the brain needs rest. The chapter begins with a simple but powerful truth: the human brain is not designed to work nonstop. When people force themselves to work continuously without breaks, several problems occur. Mental fatigue, reduced concentration, poor decision-making, lower creativity. After long hours of work, the brain becomes tired and begins to make mistakes. Tasks take longer to complete, and the quality of work decreases. The author explains that laziness in the form of rest is necessary for mental recovery. When you rest, your brain processes information, organizes thoughts, and restores energy. This allows you to return to work with a clearer mind and better focus. 2. The myth of constant hard work. Modern culture often glorifies extreme hard work. Many people believe that successful individuals work every minute of the day. However, the author challenges this idea. He explains that most highly productive people do not work constantly. Instead, they follow a rhythm of focused work, short breaks, relaxation. This pattern allows them to maintain high productivity over long periods. People who never rest often experience burnout, a state of physical and mental exhaustion. Burnout reduces motivation, creativity, and performance. The chapter emphasizes that working longer hours does not always produce better results. 3. How laziness encourages creativity. One of the most interesting ideas in Chapter 4 is that creative ideas often appear during moments of laziness. Many great ideas come when people are taking a walk, relaxing, daydreaming, sitting quietly, doing simple activities. During these moments, the brain enters a relaxed state where it can connect different ideas and create new solutions. When people are constantly busy, the brain does not have time to think deeply. The author explains that creative thinking requires mental space. By allowing yourself moments of laziness, you give your mind the freedom to explore new ideas. 4. The power of doing nothing. The chapter introduces the concept of intentional idleness, which means deliberately allowing yourself time to do nothing. At first, this may feel uncomfortable because many people believe they must always be productive. However, intentional idleness can be very beneficial. During quiet moments, the brain reflects on experiences. Problems are solved subconsciously. Stress levels decrease. Creativity increases. The author suggests spending small periods of time each day without distractions such as phones, television, or social media. Even 10–15 minutes of quiet thinking can improve clarity and mental focus. 5. The brain's background processing. The chapter explains that the brain continues working even when we are not actively thinking about a problem. This process is often called background thinking. For example, you may struggle to solve a problem for hours without success. Then, later in the day while relaxing or walking, the answer suddenly appears in your mind. This happens because your brain has been processing the problem subconsciously. The author suggests that taking breaks actually helps the brain solve complex problems faster. 6. Avoiding mental overload. Another important topic in Chapter 4 is mental overload. When people try to handle too many tasks at once, their brains become overwhelmed. This leads to stress, mistakes, slower performance, poor memory. The author recommends simplifying tasks and giving the brain time to rest between activities. Instead of multitasking, focus on one task at a time and take short breaks between tasks. This approach improves concentration and reduces mental fatigue. 7. The importance of sleep. Sleep is another form of productive laziness discussed in this chapter. Many people sacrifice sleep in order to work more hours. However, lack of sleep damages productivity. Without proper sleep, memory weakens, focus decreases, decision-making becomes poor, creativity drops. Sleep allows the brain to store memories, repair mental energy, process information from the day. The author strongly recommends maintaining healthy sleep habits to support productivity. 8. Balancing work and relaxation. Chapter 4 encourages readers to find a healthy balance between work and rest. Too much laziness can lead to procrastination, but too much work can lead to exhaustion. The ideal balance includes focused work sessions, regular breaks, leisure activities, proper sleep. When this balance is maintained, people can stay productive without feeling overwhelmed. 9. The role of simple pleasures. The author also highlights the importance of enjoying simple pleasures in life. Activities like listening to music, walking in nature, spending time with family, reading for enjoyment, relaxing hobbies. These activities may seem unproductive, but they help reduce stress and refresh the mind. A relaxed mind performs better than a constantly stressed one. 10. Laziness as mental recharge. The chapter describes laziness as a mental recharge system. Just like a phone battery needs charging, the human brain needs time to recover. If you continue using your phone without charging it, the battery will eventually die. Similarly, if you continue working without resting, your mental energy will disappear. Resting regularly keeps the brain strong and capable of high performance. 11. Avoiding the trap of guilt. Many people feel guilty when they are not working. They believe that relaxing means they are wasting time. The author explains that this belief is harmful. Relaxation is not wasted time if it helps restore energy and improve productivity later. Instead of feeling guilty, people should view rest as an important part of success. 12. Practical strategies from the chapter. Chapter 4 provides several practical suggestions for using laziness wisely. Some of these include: take regular breaks. Work for a focused period, and then take a short break to relax your mind. Allow time for daydreaming. Let your mind wander occasionally. This helps creativity. Spend time away from screens. Digital devices constantly stimulate the brain. Taking breaks from screens allows the mind to relax. Go for walks. Walking helps clear the mind and often leads to new ideas. Maintain healthy sleep. Proper sleep is essential for productivity and mental health. 13. The lazy thinker's advantage. The author suggests that people who embrace intelligent laziness often develop better problem-solving skills. Because they dislike unnecessary effort, they naturally look for simpler solutions, efficient methods, creative shortcuts. Instead of forcing themselves to work harder, they think about how to work more efficiently. This mindset often leads to innovative ideas. 14. Real-life observations. The chapter also refers to real-world observations, where people achieve their best ideas during relaxed moments. Many writers, scientists, and inventors have reported that their most creative thoughts occurred while bathing, walking, resting, traveling, sitting quietly. These examples show that creativity thrives when the mind is relaxed. 15. Key lessons from Chapter 4. The main lessons from this chapter include 1. The brain needs rest to function effectively. 2. Constant hard work can reduce productivity. 3. Creative ideas often appear during relaxed moments. 4. Intentional laziness helps the brain process information. 5. Breaks improve focus and decision-making. 6. Sleep is essential for mental performance. 7. Balancing work and relaxation leads to long-term success. 8. Simple pleasures help refresh the mind. 9. Rest should be viewed as part of productivity, not laziness. A relaxed mind is more creative and efficient. Conclusion. Chapter 4 of The Art of Laziness teaches that rest and relaxation are not enemies of productivity. They are essential partners. The author encourages readers to stop viewing laziness as something negative. When used wisely, moments of relaxation help the brain recharge, improve creativity, and increase efficiency. Instead of forcing constant work, people should adopt a balanced approach that includes focused effort and meaningful rest. By doing this, they can maintain high productivity while also enjoying a healthier and more relaxed life. Blue Book, The Art of Laziness, Chapter 5 Summary. Chapter 5 of The Art of Laziness focuses on one of the biggest obstacles to productivity: procrastination. Many people think procrastination is caused by laziness, but the author explains that procrastination often happens for deeper reasons such as fear, confusion, lack of motivation, or feeling overwhelmed. In this chapter, the author teaches readers how to understand procrastination and how to overcome it by using smart laziness. Instead of forcing yourself to work harder, the idea is to make work easier, simpler, and more manageable. Below is a detailed explanation of the main ideas presented in Chapter 5. 1. Understanding procrastination. The chapter begins by explaining what procrastination really means. Procrastination is the habit of delaying tasks that should be done now. Instead of doing the task, people often scroll social media, watch videos, do unimportant work, delay the task until the last moment. Many people blame laziness for this behavior. However, the author explains that procrastination usually happens because the task feels too difficult, too boring, too big, too stressful. When the brain sees a task as unpleasant, it naturally tries to avoid it. 2. Why the brain avoids difficult tasks. The author explains that the human brain prefers comfort and easy rewards. When faced with a challenging task, the brain may experience fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, lack of confidence, uncertainty about how to begin. Because of these feelings, the brain chooses activities that give quick pleasure instead of long-term benefits. For example, writing a report may feel difficult. Watching videos feels easy and enjoyable, so the brain chooses the easier activity. The chapter emphasizes that procrastination is a natural psychological reaction, not simply a sign of weakness. 3. The problem with large tasks. One major reason people procrastinate is that many tasks appear too large or complicated. For example, writing a book, preparing a major presentation, learning a new skill, starting a business project. When people see the entire task at once, it feels overwhelming. As a result, they avoid starting. The author explains that lazy thinkers solve this problem by breaking big tasks into smaller pieces. Instead of thinking, cross mark, I must finish this entire project, they think, heavy check mark, I will complete the first small step. Small tasks feel easier to start, which reduces procrastination. 4. The Just Start Principle. Chapter 5 introduces an important rule called the Just Start Principle. The idea is simple. The hardest part of any task is starting it. Once a person begins working, the brain gradually becomes focused and engaged. For example, if you tell yourself to work for only 5 minutes, it becomes easier to start. After those 5 minutes, many people continue working because the initial resistance disappears. The author explains that starting small is one of the most powerful ways to defeat procrastination. 5. The Lazy Way to Work. The chapter encourages readers to adopt a lazy strategy for work. A lazy person prefers to complete tasks quickly and efficiently so they can relax afterward. Because of this mindset, lazy thinkers often look for shortcuts, simplify processes, avoid unnecessary work, focus only on important results. Instead of wasting time on perfection or unnecessary details, they finish the essential part of the task first. This approach helps people complete work faster and avoid delays. 6. Creating simple work habits. Another idea discussed in this chapter is building simple habits. Habits reduce the mental effort required to start tasks. For example, if someone always writes or studies at the same time every day, the brain becomes accustomed to that routine. Eventually, the task becomes automatic. The author suggests creating daily habits such as writing for 30 minutes every morning, studying at a fixed time, exercising regularly. Once these habits form, procrastination becomes much less likely. This idea may be useful for you because you mentioned earlier that you prefer doing exercises in the morning. Morning routines often help build strong habits. 7. Removing distractions. The chapter also explains that distractions are a major cause of procrastination. Modern life includes many distractions such as smartphones, social media, messages and notifications, television and entertainment. These distractions constantly pull attention away from important work. The author recommends creating a focused environment when working. This may include turning off phone notifications, working in a quiet space, limiting internet usage during work hours. By reducing distractions, it becomes easier to concentrate and complete tasks. 8. Rewarding yourself. Another strategy suggested in Chapter 5 is rewarding yourself after completing tasks. Rewards motivate the brain and make work feel more enjoyable. For example, after finishing a task, you may allow yourself to watch a favorite show, eat something you enjoy, take a relaxing break, spend time with friends. This method trains the brain to associate work with positive outcomes. Over time, tasks feel less unpleasant and procrastination decreases. 9. The role of motivation. The author explains that motivation does not always appear automatically. Many people wait until they feel motivated before starting work. However, motivation often appears after action, not before. When you begin working, progress creates satisfaction and motivation increases. Therefore, the author advises Backhand index pointing, right start working even when motivation is low. Once progress begins, motivation usually follows. 10. Accepting imperfection. Perfectionism is another cause of procrastination. Some people delay tasks because they want everything to be perfect. They fear making mistakes or producing imperfect work. The author suggests accepting imperfect progress instead of waiting for perfection. It is better to complete a task imperfectly than to delay it indefinitely. Once the task is finished, it can always be improved later. 11. Creating momentum. The chapter also explains the importance of momentum. Momentum means building continuous progress. When people complete small tasks regularly, they develop a sense of accomplishment. This positive feeling encourages them to continue working. Over time, small actions lead to large achievements. For example, writing 1 page per day may seem small, but after a year Blue Book, The Art of Laziness, Chapter 6 Summary. Chapter 6 of The Art of Laziness focuses on an important idea: how to design a life and work system that reduces unnecessary effort and makes productivity easier. In previous chapters, the author explained how laziness can lead to efficiency, creativity, and better focus. In this chapter, the author takes the idea further by showing how people can build systems and habits that allow them to achieve goals with less effort and stress. Instead of relying only on motivation or discipline, the chapter emphasizes creating smart systems that work automatically. Below is a detailed explanation of the main ideas in Chapter 6. 1. Why systems are more powerful than motivation. The chapter begins by explaining a common problem: motivation is unreliable. Some days people feel motivated and energetic, but on other days they feel tired or distracted. If productivity depends only on motivation, progress becomes inconsistent. The author argues that successful people rely more on systems and routines than on motivation. A system is a structured way of doing things that makes progress automatic. For example, a writer who writes every morning at the same time, a student who studies for 1 hour every evening, a worker who begins each day by completing the most important task. Because these actions are part of a system, they happen regularly without requiring constant motivation. 2. Lazy people build efficient systems. The author explains that lazy thinkers naturally look for ways to reduce effort. Instead of repeating the same difficult work every day, they create systems that simplify tasks. For example, instead of deciding every day what to eat, some people create a weekly meal plan. Instead of organizing files repeatedly, they design a simple filing system. Instead of manually doing repetitive tasks, they use automation or shortcuts. By creating systems, people reduce the mental effort required to make decisions. 3. Reducing decision fatigue. The chapter introduces the concept of decision fatigue. Every day, people make hundreds of small decisions: what to wear, what to eat, when to work, which task to start first. These decisions slowly drain mental energy. When the brain becomes tired from too many decisions, it becomes harder to focus on important tasks. The author suggests simplifying daily life by reducing unnecessary decisions. For example, preparing clothes the night before, creating a simple morning routine, planning the next day in advance. These small systems save mental energy for more important work. 4. Designing a productive environment. Another important idea in Chapter 6 is environment design. The author explains that our surroundings strongly influence our behavior. For example, if your phone is always next to you, you are more likely to check it frequently. If snacks are placed on your desk, you may eat them without thinking. Instead of relying on willpower, the author suggests designing an environment that naturally encourages productive behavior. Examples include keeping your workspace clean and organized, placing important tools within easy reach, removing distractions from your work area, creating a quiet place for focused work. When the environment supports productivity, tasks become easier to complete. 5. The power of small habits. The chapter also discusses the importance of small daily habits. Large goals often feel overwhelming, but small habits are easy to maintain. For example, reading 10 pages a day, exercising for 10 minutes, writing a short paragraph daily. Although these actions seem small, they create powerful long-term results. If someone reads 10 pages daily, they can finish many books in a year. If someone practices a skill for a few minutes every day, their ability gradually improves. The author emphasizes that consistency is more important than intensity. Small actions performed regularly produce significant progress. 6. Automating repetitive tasks. Automation is another concept discussed in this chapter. Many daily tasks are repetitive and consume unnecessary time. Examples include paying bills, scheduling meetings, organizing files, sending routine messages. Whenever possible, these tasks can be simplified or automated. For example, automatic bill payments, pre-written email templates, digital reminders and scheduling tools. Automation allows people to focus their energy on more meaningful work. 7. Creating clear work processes. The author explains that confusion often leads to procrastination. When people are unsure how to complete a task, they may delay starting it. To solve this problem, the chapter recommends creating clear processes for common tasks. For example, instead of randomly starting work each day, create a simple routine such as review tasks for the day, start with the most important task, work in focus sessions, take short breaks, review progress at the end of the day. When work follows a consistent process, it becomes easier and faster. 8. Avoiding overcomplicated systems. While systems are helpful, the author warns against creating overly complex systems. Some people build complicated productivity methods that require too much effort to maintain. A lazy approach prefers simple systems that are easy to follow. For example, instead of a complicated planning system, use a simple daily task list. Instead of tracking dozens of habits, focus on a few important ones. Simple systems are more sustainable and less stressful. 9. Building a morning routine. The chapter highlights the value of a structured morning routine. The way a person begins the day often influences the rest of the day. A calm and organized morning routine may include activities such as light exercise, planning the day, reading or learning, starting an important task. A good routine eliminates confusion about how to begin the day. Since you mentioned earlier that you prefer exercising in the morning, a simple morning routine with stretching or light exercise could fit perfectly into this idea. 10. Tracking progress. Another strategy discussed in Chapter 6 is tracking progress. When people measure their progress, they stay more motivated. Tracking can be very simple, such as marking completed tasks on a list, recording daily habits, noting progress toward goals. Seeing visible progress encourages people to continue their efforts. 11. The lazy way to achieve big goals. The author explains that big achievement usually come from small, consistent actions over time. Instead of trying to accomplish everything at once, lazy thinkers prefer steady progress. For example, a person who studies 30 minutes daily may learn more than someone who studies intensely only once a week. Consistency allows progress without extreme effort. 12. Protecting time and energy. The chapter also emphasizes protecting personal time and energy. Many people become overwhelmed because they try to do too many things. Lazy thinkers avoid unnecessary commitments and focus on the activities that matter most. By protecting time and energy, they maintain better productivity and balance. 13. The long-term impact of systems. When effective systems are in place, life becomes simpler. Tasks require less effort because many decisions and actions happen automatically. Over time, these systems create powerful results such as improved productivity, reduced stress, greater focus, more free time. The author suggests that building systems may require effort initially, but they save enormous time in the long run. 14. Key lessons from Chapter 6. The main lessons of this chapter include: 1. Motivation is unreliable, but systems create consistency. 2. Lazy thinkers design systems that reduce effort. 3. Reducing daily decisions saves mental energy. 4. A supportive environment improves productivity. 5. Small daily habits create large long-term results. 6. Automation can eliminate repetitive tasks. 7. Clear processes make work easier to start and complete. 8. Simple systems are better than complicated ones. 9. Tracking progress increases motivation. Consistent small actions lead to major achievements. Conclusion. Chapter 6 of The Art of Laziness teaches that productivity does not depend on constant effort or strong motivation. Instead, it comes from designing systems that make success easier. By simplifying routines, reducing decisions, building small habits, and automating repetitive tasks, people can achieve their goals with less stress and effort. The author encourages readers to think like a smart, lazy person. Instead of working harder every day, create systems that work for you. When life and work are organized in this way, productivity becomes natural, sustainable, and much more enjoyable.